have a law against distracted driving, and we have a law against cell phone use by CDL drivers, but the problem seems to be growing instead of shrinking. Is there something wrong with the way the current law is written that makes it difficult to prosecute those offenses?
The law is very clear when it comes to commercial motor vehicles, and it's very easy for law enforcement to enforce those two provisions of the code. With regard to 3316, prohibiting text-based communications, from a law enforcement perspective, enforcing that law is much more difficult because of the requirements of that piece of legislation. It's very difficult to be able to determine with any great degree of certainty, without actually ascertaining the phone from the operator, that they were in fact reading, sending, or writing a text while that vehicle was in motion. So there is a distinction between the types of vehicles and the pieces of legislation, one being more difficult to enforce than the other.
And that's what I'm trying to get at in order to see that we write the law better the next time. So I guess I have two questions. If the driver who gets hit was looking in a rearview mirror, as Mrs. Miller testified, and saw somebody on the phone, you can't use that testimony?
It would certainly aid us in the investigation, and we could certainly use that information to potentially obtain a search warrant at some point if necessary. But there are those additional investigative steps that we would have to take in that instance. But if you change one of those details in that entire scenario, if you eliminate that testimony or that witness account from us, then we are basically left to ask the operator, were you in fact using your phone at the time of the crash?
I'm a lawyer also. I recognize that seizing somebody's cell phone has Fourth Amendment implications to it. Right. At the same time, driving on Pennsylvania's highways is a privilege, not a right. Is there anything we can do to make it easier for you to get the cell phone evidence after a crash or something like that?
I've looked at a number of bills here in the past that suggest that or offer that as a means to further an investigation for law enforcement. Again, we're governed by the Constitution, so it would have to fall in line with that, obviously, that premise. Certainly, it would be a tool for us to aid in an investigation when we think that an operator was involved with a crash because of distracted driving through the use of that phone. That would certainly aid us.
All right. I would also think that you would instruct anybody investigating an accident to ask the witnesses if they saw the phone in use.
Long before, many years ago, actually, the state police began to tabulate information at crash scenes before it actually became part of a report, an official report. We would ask them, were you using a cell phone at the time of the crash? So we were dialed into that possibility for quite some time.